hello, here we are. We have an amazing guest today. But first, I'm looking good, feeling good, loving life. I hope you can say the same. Today, our guest, he is arguably the most well-known and maybe the most controversial promoter in all of Western Pennsylvania. He is Mr. Jim Miller. Jim?
Good to be here.
Thank you, I really appreciate it. So how did, let's just jump right into it. How did you first get involved with wrestling?
Well, it started back in about 94, and actually it was something from the heart to help other people. I was going through a double lawsuit, one for a breach of contract and one for a patent infringement. So as I sit and wait in a warehouse, I had an empty warehouse that two gentlemen came and said, "Could we put a ring up?" I said, "Man, I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't care if you wrestle, just sign the waivers, but I want nothing to do with it." That's where it started. From that point, that's where the division from the past to now that I see that truly in this business aggravates the hell out of you. Those guys wanted it. We started with 2 or 3 guys. Johnny Valiant came in to help train. B.A. Briggs was one of the first trainers. They were there, not B.A. and Johnny, but there was guys there 4 or 5 days a week. They wanted it, you know. They'd do anything. You didn't have to ask. I mean, they cleaned up when they were done. They were always asking if they could do something. Not today. You know that
Sure.
as well as I do. You can't get them to pick up their own garbage nowadays. They worked the ring to better their talent back then. It wasn't a weightlifting. It wasn't a, all look. They worked that so their talent was the best that they could be. So I was impressed because, be truthfully, within a month I had close to 25, 30 guys that were coming up there. But like I said, I didn't want involved in it. So the one day they came in and they started, the normal, "Jim, will you get a license? Will you get a bond?" No, I told you I want nothing. Well, you don't have to do anything. You tell us what we need. You tell us what we have to do, and we know you've been in business this long. If you could keep the numbers so we keep afloat. I said, well, I ain't dumping into a dream. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it in a business way, and that's the way it has to be. So it took 2 or 3 conversations, and I basically said, okay, I'll do it. But I still don't want overly involved in anything. I'm just in the background. Mm-hmm. But while in the background, you're starting to hear all the wrestling mumbo jumbo garbage that they're talking shit on each other, and even back in. Talk to your face nice, and behind you they come back and they're like stabbing the shit out of you. So it's like, man, this is some rough stuff, you know. But that's been the business now, clear up until today. But the difference today is the heart ain't there. I mean, that's my opinion. The heart of the day when you started, well, even prior to you. I mean, I was doing this before you did, because you got involved with Chris Lash, and I'm the one that took it to Chris Lash. A lot of people don't know all the damn places I've been. Chris Lash would have never started without me. There would be no IWC without me, meaning there would be no RWA without me, which means there would also be no Rise without me. You sit here and I feel the bad vibes come because basically when you start something and you take some hard work away from somebody, you want to get rid of them. It's a normal business. McDonald's wants to get, Burger King out of the backyard. They think they're going to take out the old man. I've kept the same feeling. It's like, I'm going to keep us afloat, but I'm not going to listen to your shit. I'm listening to guys that beat me in the head at how bad they want it. I'm listening to guys now that all they do is whine and cry, and I didn't get this, and you didn't treat me like this. It's like, so that's the way it all started. I went to, I think the first show was at a fire hall. We did. Then we were everywhere. Again, you know that. I was in Penn State. We were in West Newton. We've been in Connells. We've been all over the damn place.
Well, prior to '94, I mean, did you have any knowledge of wrestling? Did you like it in any way? I mean,
I'm a fan.
Okay.
Okay, I'm a fan. But my background was in retail and then construction. Okay, I was a construction coordinator for General Nutrition Centers. I was an architectural designer. I got moved up where I checked jobs, set up jobs, designed jobs, spoke, and basically I was an in-between guy between union and regular personnel because there's a big difference. I don't know exactly what you do, but there's definitely personality difference between working with the union people and working with store people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to do both because I worked with both. So that's what I did prior to that. But my was to watch wrestling. I didn't care about the moves. I didn't care about critiquing guys. I just wanted to enjoy the matches.
Did you have guys that you liked in your younger days?
Oh.
Or, like, that guy's one of my favorite guys to watch?
Bruno was great to watch. People, you see all this chair shots and all this other stuff. I remember going for a year. He took one chair shot and the building like blew up. I mean, that ain't there anymore. Killer Kowalski. Here in Pittsburgh, you had Jumping Johnny DeFazio. You had Bobby Hurricane Hunt. Chief Whiteout would come in. The Haystack Calhoun brothers. People tell me now, let's talk about old school. Well, what do you mean old school? Hulk Hogan. Get the hell out of here. He ain't old. Not to me. Sure. I've watched the ones, they told us you couldn't tell.
So if you were going to compare wrestling from the 60s, maybe even the 80s, the Attitude Era, and compared to now, would it be fair to say that like the 60s is your favorite era of watching wrestling, or you have another one that I love Bruno, but this era was my favorite?
No, actually, that era was my favorite because it told the story the best. You could not tell, you hate to say it, if it was real or not.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way to tell. The fans left it, and there was no qualm that it was real. And that is school. And that is schooling, and that is heart. So, yeah, that was my favorite. But, again, I talk as a fan. I'm not a worker.
Mm-hmm. So before I even got in the business, I'd read the aftermags, and one thing that came up a lot was, PWX, NWA. It seemed as though, maybe the late 90s was really the big heyday of PWX/NWA East. What was working so well during that era for you guys?
Well, again, I stayed with the same model. I basically did the business. I make the hookups, I get the contracts. And then the NWA, Jim Cornette called me. He said, Jim, they're going to start this back up. I think you ought to jump in and, So I was the very first new NWA member when they came back around. And it was okay. It could have worked, but it's no difference in, let's say, Pittsburgh. 8 promotions. Well, the NWA was no different. Half the guys never promoted in their life. Another half didn't know what the hell they were doing. And then they were just trying to stab each other and kill each other. I mean, we had 2 promoters that never promoted a show. I mean, how in the hell can you run the NWA and not even promote a show? It's
sure. Doesn't make any sense.
No. So, I mean, I hung in there because, Jim kept saying, hang in there. And then the whole thing came up I became the president for the 1 year.
How did that come about?
Basically the same thing. It was the business end. I watched the business end. Okay, I didn't care about the champs. If you're going to do it, you're going to know better than me. Which now I look back and say maybe I'm wrong, because they're picking by their buddy or whatever. They're not picking by who's best with the fans. And that's when they tried to almost boot me out, because the past president of the NWA, I caught having a complete porn site built on the back of the NWA website. Found that out. There were several things that I caught, and it wasn't being liked at all. Phone bill to Japan. NWA paid for it. $5,000.
Yeah.
And then the old boys network would just get it cleared and try to flush it under the table. Well, I'm not that way. I'm from here, and I got a big mouth, and I don't like it if you're taking the money we work for and using it to just blow it, and then you won't account for it. And then to run a porn site on the back of an NWA site, it's like, who's paying for all this?
Do you think there was any pros to being part of the NWA, for PWX specifically?
Yes, I do. And it was the one time a year, and it was the same guys that never actually promoted it that got rid of it. It was the convention that we would have. It wasn't the show part of the convention, but it was the convention where we all got together as promoters, as talent that was there, sit at the pool, drink and talk and bullshit, and the knowledge that would come out of there would be unbelievable. People say, oh, it's different here, it's different there. It's not true. I mean, I knew everybody from all over the place, and they're all telling me, it's the same story everywhere. No pay, these guys do this. It's everywhere. So when you come back and they say, well, I go down south and it's like this, it's like, no, it ain't. To this day, I still call Don. Still have connections that I talk to. And, I was over in Japan. That's the only place that was different. And these guys that want to go to Japan, they better think twice. They'll kill them. Literally, they bust their asses. Prior to the show, they got to clean. They got to set up the chairs. Then they have a 2-hour training session prior to a show. After the show, they got to tear down, load it into the trucks, take it back to the warehouse, and take it out of the trucks. Can you see that helping now?
It's a different generation. It's a millennial thing. I don't even know if it's just a wrestling thing. It feels like it's an entitled millennial
You try to get somebody to pick up a board, that's your job. You do that. It's like, you want to do this. You must not want to do it that bad.
Yeah, I think there are still guys out there. It's just not all of them. And
there's a few of them.
I think there's a few. There's some still really good guys that are young guys, but I definitely see what you're saying. There's a fair amount of young talent that feel very entitled and don't want to put the work in to be the star. But I think probably, Bruno's generation would have said the same thing about, the 80s generation, those guys. And I think it's just a generational thing. We all feel like the next generation isn't working hard enough. And I think that a lot of times the young guys, and I can say the same's true for me. I think that my work ethic at 21 was vastly different than it was at 31 and even 41.
Sure.
You grow and mature, so I try to be patient with these young guys, but yes, I understand your point. It's hard sometimes.
Well, it's not that you just mature, you learn, okay, but they don't want to learn. And then they pull their little cliques. So you get one that's good, and they pull them down. It's like, I had a girl, I never forget, down at Renzi Park. And it was one of the wrestlers' wives, or girlfriends, and she liked taking down the chairs. She didn't care. She had nothing to do. I had a girl come out of the back room and just chew her ass out. Literally chew her ass out, one of the workers, telling her that's not her job. That's a trainee's job. You don't help. just got the girl all flustered. Never helped again. And I says, did you let that bother you? She says, well, I didn't want to cause any trouble. I mean, and we all know the person because that's the way she was, and that's why she ain't around anymore. But that's what I mean.
Who was it? Or you don't want to say?
Huh?
Who was it?
Stacy Hunter.
Oh, okay. All right.
I have nothing to pull.
I know. That's why I was looking forward to this interview. I feel like you're a guy that will say what you think and mean what you say.
And I ain't going to give you no bullshit about it. I'm going to tell you. I mean, I thought she could be good, but she didn't learn how to shut her mouth. All she did was bitch about anything. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wait a minute. You weren't really trained yourself. Don't give me these stories because, I've been here before most of you, all of you, some of you. Now, they haven't even been born yet when I was starting. So, I have them now where they tell me, it's like, you don't know anything. I said, holy shit, what happened? Did I have a brain fart and I lose everything I had for 24 years when I'm in this business? It's like, oh man, is this bad?